Hello and welcome back to Aspen Talks Health. Today I am joined by India Barlow and we are talking about poop.
Lovely.
Welcome.
Hi.
India is a colon hydrotherapist and I think this is extremely important to know about, and part of my mission of this show is to present all the different healing modalities, and cleaning out your colon is a very important one. We're going to discuss why. But that is the source of a lot of issues for people.
Tons of issues.
So,
yes.
Welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you.
Good, my pleasure. So let's start with how much is usually or can be stored in the gut?
Common knowledge is anywhere from like 5 to 25 pounds of fecal matter can be stored in it. And that's even 5 pounds or even 1 pound, that's a lot of weight. And 20 pounds is not uncommon.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is 3 babies.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
And it's pressing up against your other organs. It can cause back issues. It's a big deal.
Right, good. Let's go into what some of the symptoms are that people can feel.
So just general upset in your gut, skin issues, constipation, which is when you're not going to the bathroom, it's really hard to think clearly. People don't put that together, but your gut has everything to do with, your brain and your energy level, all of that.
Absolutely, yeah. I can feel it. If I've blocked up, then
Right.
It feels heavy. I feel lethargic.
Right.
Yeah, you can feel it's toxic. There's toxins.
It's toxins. And so the first place you start to cleanse before you do any other cleansing out is always your gut, because so many issues can improve just by cleaning out that one thing.
Right. So true. And then there's been a lot of research now between the link between the brain and the gut.
Right.
Correct? And the gut is acting, the microbiome in there is producing dopamine and serotonin, which are your little happy pills, right?
Right.
So if those are not getting the food and the nutrients they need, you can experience depression.
Right.
Correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
And you mentioned foggy brain.
Foggy brain. Yeah. No, it affects a lot. So
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I've of course also cancer and having colon cancer is pretty common nowadays.
Right. I mean, medications get built up in there over the years. Old food gets stuck in there. I mean, it's everything,
Are you supposed to be going after every single meal, or is once a day sufficient?
It may not be typical for everyone. Once a day is great, but honestly, you should go after every meal. Ideally, you should go after every meal, because you have to wonder where that food is, what's happening if you don't. Where is it being stored? So it's getting shoved into your colon, and then that builds up over the years, and that's what causes that buildup.
Right.
Yeah.
It's fascinating. So
Yeah.
the colon is extremely long, right? You said the small intestines are 25 feet? Approximately?
And then the large intestines is 5 to 8 feet, which, when you uncoil that,
That's the length of your body shoved into a very small space.
it's a lot. Hmm.
And so there's lots of pockets and areas where food can get stuck and trapped, correct?
Exactly. And most people's colons are not kind of normally shaped. They're all kinked up or like ballooned out. And that's, some of the stuff that we're trying to help with the colon hydrotherapy, is to get it kind of to pop back up in its natural shape so people can go to the bathroom more often.
Interesting.
Yeah.
I've heard that the kinks are emotional related. So if you're experiencing some trauma or emotional challenges, or even just not liking your body, as a teenager or something, and you're hating on your own body,
Right.
It can cause a cramp. And the energy will get stuck and cause almost a cramp in your intestine, and that becomes a blocking area.
Yeah, I mean, I believe it. Everything is emotionally, like, you have to think about when you're stressed, what happens. Your gut literally like tightens up. So it totally makes sense that we store that stuff in our bodies,
Right.
to me.
Yeah. So tell us about the colon hydrotherapy.
So the process of it?
Yes.
I mean, so basically, I have like a state-of-the-art colonic machine. It's purified water. People have been doing this for centuries. It's nothing new, but the technology is better and cleaner. And all we're doing is flushing the old fecal matter out with purified water. That's it. It's a very gentle process. You have a lot of privacy, but that's how it's done.
Right. So, not to be graphic, but a small, very thin tube goes in.
You have a disposable, brand new, small tube that's lubricated
Nice.
that goes in, and then water goes in, and the water forces the old fecal matter out. So it forces you to release, and it goes down the drain just like it's going into a toilet.
Right.
So it's not messy, it's not
No.
dirty.
I experienced it on Monday.
Yeah.
So
And you did great, and you thought maybe you were going to hate it, but you ended up liking it.
no, because I'm used to the closed system.
Yeah.
Which actually I prefer now your system, because
Yeah.
the closed system made me cramp much more, whereas this open, I could release whenever I was needed to and felt the
You
urge.
have a little more control
You
and
have much more
privacy.
and
Yeah.
privacy. It was very
Right.
nice.
Right.
So yeah, so the water will go in and it kind of fills up a little bit, and your stomach swells up a little, and then you can feel it going all the way it goes all the way around.
Yeah, you can feel the water. On some people, maybe it won't go all the way around the first time. But eventually, as you become more sensitive and you clean out, you can feel where the water is, and you can feel it shifting out and doing its thing. And then it's graphic too, but when you see what's coming out, like that's just showing you like that stuff has been in your body, and it's better out than in.
Oh yeah.
Right.
It's disturbingly rewarding.
Everybody says everybody wants to see what's coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Right.
It's satisfying that you're doing a good job. You're cleansing a lot.
Right.
A lot.
A lot, yeah.
We didn't mention one symptom I think before is being hungry, and I think if your colon is where you absorb a lot of the nutrients.
Right.
So if you're not able to absorb because it's all walled in.
Right, exactly. So as you start cleaning out, man, then you're going to be able to absorb the nutrients and the good food, and you're spending money on all this stuff, but if your colon's dirty and backed up, you're not absorbing it like you should be. And so as you start cleaning out, you start absorbing more of that.
Yeah, and you should technically be a lot less hungry.
Yeah, I mean, but cravings also. So
Yeah.
once you start resetting your gut, what I say is you're taking the gunk out, you're putting good bacteria in, and as you do that, your whole gut changes. And so then the cravings are different. Maybe you're not craving sugar as much because that's, sugar is fermentation and all of that. So as you start straightening that out, it can totally change your craving. You wake up one day and you're craving vegetables.
Yeah. No, well, if you're feeding the microbiome,
Right.
fruits and vegetables, actually, lots of fiber,
Right.
and you have the right bacteria in there, you won't have the cravings for the naughty.
And then that goes back to the brain chemistry that you were talking about
Yeah.
earlier, because you have so much more clarity when your gut's working properly.
So true.
And you're happier.
I love it. So true.
Yeah.
What are some of the other, you had mentioned pharmaceutical drugs. That causes constipation?
Oh, for sure. The majority of clients that I see that are the worst off, they're on pharmaceuticals and drugs that cause constipation, Percocet or Vicodin and these heavy-duty drugs, and they get stuck in your system. Not only are the drugs being stuck in there, but they're causing some major constipation where I see people who haven't gone to the bathroom in a week or two.
Wow.
And so it's a big, big deal. And then once these people start getting some relief from it, they're going to heal better, first of all.
Yeah.
But they're just gonna feel better in general.
Yeah. Is there a way to hydrate take care of the colon other than colon hydrotherapy? Are there things that people can do?
I mean, you can take colon supplements. Magnesium may loosen things up. There are different things. Colonics are pretty pure. It's just water that we're dealing with. But just eating right. There's a lot of stuff, but over the years, when this stuff gets backed up and you're on medications and we're stressed out, it takes more sometimes than just starting to eat properly to clean out your colon.
Yeah.
Because of just all the years of backup.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I find it fascinating nowadays that it's completely common for men to look like they're 9 months pregnant.
Right.
It's disturbing because it's not healthy, and it's visibly not healthy.
Right.
And it's become so normal.
Right.
But I don't think it's acceptable from a health perspective.
Well, I don't think it should be normal, and I don't think it probably feels good.
No.
But
Yeah, because they're not overweight men often. They're just rock hard big bellies, which I'm assuming is impacted colon.
Right. Right. I mean, I don't really know, but the stories that are going around that I believe are, when Elvis Presley died and John Wayne died, they cut open their colon, and they had, I would say the guess was between 25 to 50 pounds of fecal matter stuck in there. And so when they cut them open, they could see this.
Wow.
Which is fascinating.
Let's talk about food combinations and what some of the causes are for this backup.
Okay.
I think food combinations is a big deal.
Yeah, I do too.
From what my studies taught me, you begin digesting carbohydrates in your mouth with the release of amylase, which is an enzyme that starts breaking down carbohydrates here, and it takes more of a neutral acid to work well.
Right.
Whereas protein gets digested in your lower stomach and
Right.
takes protease, which is the enzyme,
Yep.
and a much higher acid level for protease to work correctly.
Right.
So when you combine those two together, carbohydrates and proteins, what happens is your mouth will send the signal to your stomach to not release so much acid because carbohydrates are coming.
Yep.
And so the proteins don't get digested well.
Right.
That's what I was taught.
Yeah, no, I think so too. I think I've been practicing food combining for years. And so I think if you're going to eat protein, do it with vegetables, a salad, not carbs like a sweet potato, but salad and protein, if you're going to eat that. For sure, there's something to it.
Right.
Because otherwise you're fighting for those enzymes.
Right. You mix the proteins with greens.
Yes.
Which is completely against what sandwiches, carbohydrates, and
Right.
Yogurt and granola.
Right.
Yogurt is protein.
Yep.
And you're combining it with granola. It's amazing
Right.
how much of our foods are that exact dangerous combination.
Right, and people are just they're not really sensitive to it because maybe they've been doing it for so many years, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're feeling good. And so sometimes you just get used to feeling that way. But then as you start cleaning out your colon, what I like to do is have people work with food combining, but then pay attention to what you're putting in afterwards because you're going to become more sensitive and notice the effect that the food has on you or the food combination has on you. If you digest it cleanly, it should feel good all the way through.
Right.
Right?
That's a very good point because it is true. When you detoxify your body, and part of that is through colon therapy, it is fascinating how much more sensitive, like if you are sensitive to almonds or peanuts,
Right.
you take one bite and you know it.
Exactly. And your body's constantly giving you feedback, but when you're all backed up, you might not be sensitive to it, but as you clean out, you are more sensitive to it, and you should take that feedback pretty seriously.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How often do you recommend hydrotherapy?
You know, there's not a one-size-fits-all. I think most people should start out with at least a few to start cleaning out and to start noticing the effects of it and then how they're digesting their food after that. Most people could honestly start with like 10 to 15, not to scare anyone. Maybe you just do it once a week, but it takes a little time.
Yeah.
But people who've been on medications may need more. It just depends on what you're doing diet-wise, what your lifestyle's like. You know, we try to cater to you as an individual.
Absolutely. I know there's no set number of days. It really depends on the person.
Right.
But I do recommend back to back. From my experience with it, like doing it a Monday and a Tuesday, or as close together,
Yeah.
2 in a row, and then a week break.
The reason is because the first one's going to stir things up, and you're going to get stuff out. So it's going to loosen things up. But if you keep the momentum going, you're going to get in deeper. Each time you do a colonic, you get in deeper.
Yeah.
And so that's the stuff you want to get to. You want to get to that old stuff. You want to do one and then come back like a year later or a month later.
Right.
Because it's going to get built up and you're going to have to go through that again.
Yeah, I think also you get hydrated.
Yeah.
Your colon gets really hydrated and...
So the one thing that I notice is when people do colonics, their skin looks amazing. And that makes sense because when you start pulling out the toxins, it doesn't have to go through your skin. Your body's always going to try to get rid of toxins, and so a skin is a typical organ that it's going to try to go through if it's not going through your colon.
Yeah, good point with eczema or a lot of those skin conditions.
Rashes, acne, and of course it has to do with your diet too, but it's all of that.
Yeah, well, that's your diet is causing the issue.
It's causing that, and it's going to come out one way or another.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, it's fascinating to me. Just to have that much fecal matter. I mean, that is decaying, rotting thing. I mean, you know what your poop smells like. It's not. Can you just to know that it's in there for years?
Right.
That's disturbing.
It is disturbing. And then everyone wants to see what's coming out, and they should, because it's like that's been sitting in your body. So once you see it coming out, it's actually kind of a relief.
Yeah.
You know, not only physically, but mentally and emotionally.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Is there any more emotional component that you want to talk about? Maybe that.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think there's a lot to do. I mean, people hold it, we were talking about stress earlier, people hold that in their gut, and so that can kind of tighten things up. Type A personalities sometimes have a lot of gut issues, but we just hold on to things. And so what I try to do when people come in to do colonics is, you know, let it go. So as you're physically seeing it go out, like just emotionally let go too. We don't need to hold up the world. We don't need to hold on to that. So we can release that and let new good stuff come in if they're open to it. I don't necessarily talk to everyone about that, but yeah, it's a good point.
Now, a lot of my audience, I believe, are moms.
Yeah.
And so they are all day long with the long to-do list, and they're always really kind of giving of themselves and not really taking care of themselves like they should.
Right.
So I wonder if that also creates an energetic hold.
Yeah, I think so. I think all of it. It does.
Yeah.
We kind of live in a busy, stressed out society, and self-care should really be number one, even if you're a mom. I'm a mom, and you have to take care of yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I just lost my train of thought. You were going to say something about... oh, I completely blanked. Anyway, do you have any other thoughts?
Well, you were telling me about an interesting experience that I had never heard of before, but that you worked with a colon hydrotherapist years ago, maybe in Amsterdam?
Yes. It was amazing. So
Yeah.
it was a closed system scenario.
Uh-huh.
She stayed in the room with me, and whenever I had a cramp somewhere, I had one cramp right here, and she started just like almost pounding on it. It was really like tapping pretty hard. And she goes, "What number is coming up for you?" And I was like, 15. And she says, "Well, what happened at 15? And what was your emotional state?" And I said, "Well, at that age, I was, not happy with my body, and just being very critical of myself. And as soon as I recognized how unkind I was being to myself, it was like the clamp released, and it was so much came out.
I mean, that's fascinating.
Disturbing. I'm sorry, but
no, but it's fascinating
it was
because I've
fascinating.
never heard that. I've never heard of colon hydrotherapists actually working with people in that way. But I believe it, and I think it's, I totally think that's true. I think that we hold on to things. And so sometimes I do, when people are releasing, it's such a good visual to just let go of that old stuff in our life that's not serving us anymore.
Yeah.
It's huge.
It's
Half
so
the
true.
time I do it, it's for emotional reasons, just to let go. And you just feel so relaxed and serene afterwards. Maybe not the first time, but
the first time's a little like
as you get used to
experience.
it feels so good to be cleaned up.
But that's a good point. Give it a minute. Like the first time
Yes.
is a little like it's awkward, it's weird, it can be crampy, it's not right.
We're going to
but-
stir things up, but that's why I generally have people come in to do a few, because it gets better and easier each time, and you just relax into the process, and you get in deeper, and you get more out.
Oh, and you walk away so clean, and just you feel internally clean.
Yeah, you are. You probably just lost 5 pounds.
That's what I was thinking before. You had told me on the phone that sometimes the skinniest women that you have as clients release the most.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? It's crazy that the people, this is getting graphic, but that have actually like clogged up my machine, which is really hard to do. They're always the tiniest, most anorexic women, where you wouldn't believe that anything else could be held in their stomach. But it just shows us how efficient our bodies are at packing it in there. So it's fascinating.
Wow,
Yeah.
interesting. Is there anything people can do to prepare for coming to Colonics?
Yeah, I mean, I think just adding veggies to your diet, because those act as great scrubbers. I usually, my clients are on different programs, and I try to honor that, but generally everyone can add more veggies, eliminate dairy, or at least lessen it, because dairy is not a cleansing food generally, and maybe even, bread, things like that.
Right.
Yeah.
My trick is a little magnesium.
Yes.
There's Calm in the grocery store.
I recommend
like
that to everyone, yes.
the night before, because that kind of loosens everything
It
up.
does.
And then I also, if you can do a juice cleanse for a couple days.
Yeah.
Just so you get the bigger, like more frequent stuff out.
Yeah.
And you can get really into the pockets.
Yeah, any way you can prepare yourself in advance is great. It's just going to help you get more out of it.
Right.
Right, exactly, you're right.
Excellent. So, are there any final thoughts that you want to share?
Let's see here.
Yeah, check your
We
notes.
talked about a lot of it, but there's final thoughts. Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me is what I love about colon hydrotherapy and about cleaning out is because it really puts you in touch with yourself. Ultimately, you're in charge of yourself. You have to become your own doctor. You can listen to advice and you can listen to your doctor's advice, but your body is giving you constant feedback. And when you start to get in touch with that and when you start to honor that, I just feel like it can take you so far.
Yeah.
So as you clean out, start noticing, how does food affect me? So basically, how I eat, I'm not perfect at it. I eat based on how it makes my gut feel. If it makes me feel yucky or bloated, I don't eat it because it's not worth it. And so that's my whole mentality. Or if I ate something and it's stirring up something, I pay attention to it.
Right.
And I just think that everyone can kind of go away learning how to trust their gut better because nobody else can do it for you.
I love your quote.
Yeah.
You have to trust your gut, but it's hard to do if it's dirty.
Right. I mean, yeah, it's easier once you get cleaned out for sure. You can get what that feedback's trying to tell you.
Are there any fears or concerns people should have? I've heard once before that it wipes out your microbiome or...
Right. Considering that most people's microbiome is overloaded with like toxic bad bacteria, really, there's no concern. It gets brought up to me all the time. I address this all the time. That gunk in there, all of that old sludge is not doing anything for you. So getting rid of that is not going to hurt anything. And of course, we always recommend probiotics, fermented foods, sauerkraut, things like that where you can naturally build up a healthier microbiome. But so as you start getting the gunk out, then all of the other good bacteria can proliferate and flourish better.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. Good. I think we covered everything.
I think so.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. I'm so grateful that you were on the show.
Thank you. It's super fun to talk about that with you.
Yeah. Boop.
Poop.
Well, so how can people find you? That's an important.
So I'm around the Mid-Valley Medical Center. We're right across the parking lot from it. It's in the Mid-Valley Health Institute.
Okay.
And 1460 East Valley Road in Basalt.
And you have a website?
Yes, it's theaspenleafspa.com.
Okay. AspenLeafSpa.com. We'll make sure to put that up on AspenTalksHealth.com. And you can always go there to check out more information. And this is really an important part of your healing process. And even if you're not necessarily suffering from a big disease like cancer or anything like that, I really
Stay on top
recommend
of it before you get to that point.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a question I forgot to ask you. I'm so sorry. What do you think about cutting out the colon? It blows my mind.
Mostly I think it's ridiculous, but sometimes it's necessary, but it's ridiculous because it could be prevented most of the time. And, you know, if you go to a surgeon, that's going to be their recommendation. They're going to cut out the colon. But when you know that you could just start flushing it out with water, or if you were just to take some good action like that ahead of time
Right.
to stay, on top of things, it could solve a myriad of health issues.
Yeah.
So, and doctors have this concern, they'll tell you to be worried about colon hydrotherapy, which I find hilarious because we're just flushing out the colon with purified water. I've never had an incident. It makes people feel better, but yet they'll recommend prescription drugs and cutting out your colon. So, that's what I think about it.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
It blows my mind that doctors will just cut out organs. Like
Yeah.
they're not necessary.
And thank you for asking that, though, because I get this question all of the time where people are concerned about it, but yet they're not concerned about the medication the doctor is giving them. And sometimes it's necessary, and sometimes they're doing the only thing that they can, but the majority of cases, I don't think so.
Right.
So-
No, change your diet.
Yeah.
Clean out your colon. Use some herbal
Can
supplements
take you
to
so far.
help you.
Yep.
Yeah, it's so true.
Yeah. So hopefully we can avoid getting to that point.
Good. I'm glad I remembered that question.
That was a good ending.
Wonderful to have you.
Thank you so
much.
Thank you.
Thanks for tuning in, you guys.
Bye.